Hey, what's up? It's Jason Lucchese and welcome back to the YouTube channel. We've got some amazing information that we're going to cover with you today. It's going to depend on if you do rehabbing or wholesaling. This isn't really going to be for buy and hold unless you plan on using the strategies that we're going to talk about today when it comes to really finding out what it's going to cost to get your property from a general contractor, like the pricing that you need so that you can actually put together good, solid numbers. Because at the end of the day, we like coming up with our figures and knowing our numbers so that we can move forward and making offers. But at the end of the day as well, you need to be able to find out what the numbers are really going to be from that actual GC. So we're going to cover some things here in just a minute, and make sure you stay on until the very end. We've got something very special in store for you. It's a surprise. My guest doesn't even know what the surprise is, and it's Michael Bretthauer. Michael, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I think I've told you in previous videos anyways, depending on when you're watching this one, that these big reveals, they're as much a reveal to me as they are to you guys. So I'm excited.
So we're going to be covering some amazing things here, like I was talking about, because there's a lot of wholesalers out there that are like, how do I come up with these numbers when it comes to rehabbing? Because how many of you have gotten that deal that, and Mike could probably tell you here in just a minute about these deals that we get from wholesalers that say, hey, the property's worth, $250,000. I'm wanting $100,000 and it only needs about 20 grand in rehab. Mike, how many of those do we get from wholesalers that we're on their email list?
I just, and not to bash anybody out there. So if any of you who have recently done this with, and I've been in communication going back and forth with you on some of the numbers, I'm not going to apologize because I'm not bashing on you. I'm just letting you know, hey, this is not a stick towards you guys, because we do get a lot of them. And I've talked to a few people and, generally they're out of state. A lot of times, hey, I've got this thing. I saw it online. I talked to the seller, they're willing to partner on it. Sometimes it's like a JV opportunity.
But we also have some folks here that are local as well.
Some are local too. Some are local. And I was probably guilty of it. I mean, maybe it's sometimes, another person looks at what I said and they think I'm guilty of it still. But yeah, it happens quite a bit, where they say 20,000. We'll take a quick look and it's like,
It's like a gut renovation job.
50 to 80 grand minimum. And that's if you want to, and the comparable property, they get the ARV right every single time. That's a $350,000 home. Like it is. You put 100 grand into it. It's a $300,000, maybe $400,000 home, but your 20,000 is not going to get it there.
Yeah, no. And, some of the things that I would recommend that you use, is getting figures right off the bat. Here's a couple things that you can do. Hire a GC to come with you, look at the property, and just give that individual an idea of what you're wanting to do, either from a wholesaling standpoint or rehabbing standpoint. Have that individual walk the property with you and just say, hey, I'm looking to do the kitchen, looking to do a remodel here. It looks like I could keep the cabinets. Is there anything that we could do from that standpoint? Just say, hey, can we sand them down? Can we refinish them? Can we recolor them? Just try and figure that information out. And then as you're walking through, more than likely, if you're doing some sort of a rehab project, or if you're the wholesaler and you're trying to envision it from a standpoint that, your end investor may want, more than likely you're going to need to get new flooring in the kitchen that we just talked about. And then you're going to want to look at the bathrooms, because bathrooms are huge. Bathrooms and kitchens, normally that's what sells a property, either be a rental property or for the end individual, if they decide to do rental or a rehab. It really comes down to those things, in my opinion. Also too, really nice curb appeal, but the big things is you want that individual to walk that property with you. And that we've had that happen multiple times, right, Mike, where we have somebody walk that area with us.
Yeah. In fact, when I've early on, I remember walking through with a couple different contractors, and I'll just ask them questions that, hey, so with this floor, would you put in this kind of floor? I mean, sometimes I didn't really know. I'm like, would you put in a vinyl floor here? Or like, oh no, for whatever reason, they would tell me this is the type of floor you would cost. And over time they started gauging like, oh, he's just trying to figure out how to guess costs and whatever. They didn't seem to care. So they started telling me like, hey, he's like, just so you know, on any house, he's like, I would, even if it doesn't need anything, he's like, I put a minimum of 5,000 here in Indy because this is what it costs to have carpet and paint put in, no matter who you hire. And he kind of broke it down for me. He's like, so 5,000 minimum. So if it needs absolutely nothing. And then he started breaking down the rooms. If it needs a kitchen, none, depending on what kind of kitchen, depending on what kind of area. He broke it down by areas and let me know, hey, these are what people charging to do plumbing. These are what we're charging, for appliances. So he started breaking down so he started being able to gauge ahead of time, just from what he talked about and asking him questions and listening to him, list off the different things and, having just normal conversation with him. Oh yeah. Why would you charge that? Why is replacing every window in this house important? And so now when I'm looking at rehab projects and somebody sends me this, a 2-story house and it's a certain square footage, I can without looking at the pictures too much, kind of guess, okay, automatically I know, all right, now 5,000 minimum, nothing needs to be done, just by what the contractor told me. And now the contractor's broken down a little bit. Okay, now this is what it costs to do a kitchen. And this is in, Bates Hendricks area, or this is in the Fountain Square area. So I'm going to have a pretty nice kitchen in this area.
And ranges can be all over the place. Like you could have low end kitchens that might be $5,000 to $10,000, and you might have higher end kitchens that could be like $50,000 to $100,000+. It just really depends on what you're wanting to do. The area is a really big factor on some of the things that you're going to want to do. Some of the tools that we recommend so that we can get some general repair costs is going to be Blue Hammer. And you could also go to thumbtack.com if you want to get somebody to come out and give you a quote on the property. That's typically going to be about $50 to $100, but that's not the most important part. As you're writing down Blue Hammer and Thumbtack, those are some really great resources that you can absolutely use for being able to come up with this stuff. But make sure you stay tuned here because we've got a big reveal here at the end, and I want to make sure that they don't miss it. Because it's a surprise for Mike, as it's going to be a big surprise for you. But Mike, how important is it when we're marketing a property as a wholesaler that we do have accurate rehab numbers? Like it shows off that we're a little bit more than like your average wholesaler. Like we're giving like pretty much accurate numbers that an individual could go off of.
I've unsubscribed from many lists when a person repeatedly sends something and the numbers are just bonkers off. I'll have a couple conversations with people like, one of the most recent conversations I had, a guy sent me 5 properties?
Oh yeah. That was 5 properties.
So he sent me 5 different properties, and the first 3 or 4 of them were the rehab costs are a little bit off. And I had a conversation with him. I'm like, hey, listen, the costs, I know you think I forget it was 20, 30. I think that was a real example I was talking about. But it was about double that. And that's because it was in the Bates Hendricks area, and the houses that are nearby, they are $400,000 houses, $350,000 homes. But to get what he had to that point was going to be a little bit more. And, we had that conversation. And the next time he's like, I'll send you, I'll keep that in mind. I'll send you something different next time. And in a lot of cases, some people will, they'll stop sending me garbage, but the ones that just like repeatedly send stuff over and over. And I expect what happened to me when I send stuff out. Like if I send a property out and it doesn't make sense, I would expect to get a high level of unsubscribes from my list. And when you consider the time and effort you put into creating that list and how valuable that list is.
And the list that you're talking about is the list of our cash buyers.
Right, yes. They're cash buyers. When you think about the time and effort you put into putting that together, it stings when I keep track of it. Every once in a while, somebody will unsubscribe. Not ashamed to admit it. I get them too. Everybody's going to get it. But it stings a little bit. You're like, ow. What did I send that made him unsubscribe? And I'll look at the email, and I don't know if any of you are on my email chain, would get properties from me. I'll send an email. Hey, I sent you this house and it looks like it wasn't for you. Tell me a little bit more about it. But once they unsubscribe, it's like, man, what can I do? I can't talk to him anymore. He says he doesn't want to hear from me.
I know it can really ruin things for you if you're not coming across as a professional. Now, it doesn't matter if you're brand new at wholesaling or if you're, a pro at it. A lot of the pros out there make mistakes, and you as a brand new individual, if you're watching this is really important that you definitely execute everything that we're discussing in this video, because it's going to help you out substantially and put you in the right direction.
Because, well, hey, and I don't want to cut you. I don't want to cut you off you can't cut me off, Mike. I think this is important to hear. Anybody starting off, and this is why I brought up the conversation I had. I'm not saying this person was new. I think he's been doing it for a little bit, but I've talked to people that are just starting out. In fact, I have a guy right now that's kind of going back and forth with me on a self-storage unit that he caught by watching our YouTube videos, doing the stuff, and hey, I get sent this thing and whatnot. And there was one that was garbage, and I told, hey, it was at a 6% cap rate. I'm like, yeah, no, there's nothing I could do with that. I mean, and the email was wrong. He showed me the email from the person that sent it to him. I'm like, yeah, the cap rate's all wrong. The numbers are right there. Any idiot that does the math can see that it's not an 8% or above. I think it was 8% or something, but I'm like, it's sitting at a 6 barely. And I'm like, I mean, if you sent me that, I would unsubscribe right away, because now you're just way off. Like, it's not even inaccurate. It's just blatantly in my face. Like, yeah, I don't care. I'm just sending this to you and hoping that you'll open it and you'll get excited about it. I didn't really put any thought and effort into it. Like, that's what I get from it. And I think anybody on our list would be the same thing. Like, man, you really don't care, do you? So I guess click.
No, that is true. So, a big thing that we will have for you, as long as we are getting 60 likes and 60 thumbs. So we've increased it now because our average has gone up, because you guys have been so amazing with us. One of the things that we want to give away to you is our wholesaling rehabber checklist. So if you're wanting to know exactly like what to look for when you're going through the houses, and you want to be able to be an individual that gets top dollar for their properties, make sure that you leave a comment below and say, hey, I would love to have that checklist. Because Mike and I have been through hundreds, if not thousands of properties over the last 12 to 13 years now, that we know exactly what to look for. And we would love to give you that checklist. One of the biggest things that you can do right now, if you want to get more money, get that checklist. But here's the big thing. I just talked about it a moment ago. Pay $50 to $100 to have somebody walk the property with you. And also too, tell that GC, this is an insider secret. Make sure you let that contractor know that you're going to refer them to your end buyer. That's going to be huge. And the other thing too is, Mike could touch on this, but also when you are sending off your email to your cash buyer about a potential property, and you have all of these figures in there, because that's going to help you out so much. Make sure you say in your email, this is if you were to rehab it, because people are going to do things differently, Mike, on a rental property. If it's an Airbnb property, if it's a rehab, they're going to do things completely and entirely different. Also, too, if somebody buys it as their personal, like if they buy it as their personal residence, those 4 things, that's going to be different. So you need to make sure, like, this is if where you are going to rehab it and sell it promptly. Because that's the big thing there as well, Mike. Wouldn't you say that? Like, making sure you tell them that in the email?
Because after you make that investment, I mean, you should think about this. They're going to give you information that's incredibly valuable. They're going to teach you what they've learned over years and years and years of doing this work. You're not going to go out for years and years and learn how to rehab a property and all the cost and intricacies. So spending, $50 or investing $50 to $100, $300 to have a GC walk through a property with you, showing them that you value their time and their information, is going to pay off tenfold in the end, because now you've started this conversation. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to pay somebody $50 and then in the long term have them be not your payroll, but in your pocket, basically, like somebody you can count on? So like with our GCs, we talk, hey, this is what I'm doing. We're investors. We're here in Indiana. We're looking at properties downtown. We fix and flip some. We wholesale a lot.
Not to cut you off, you just brought up a really good point. You got to be up front with those GCs, Mike. You got to let them know, hey, I'm an individual. I want to just buy this prop. I'm going to essentially, I've got it under contract. All I'm looking to do is this. And then I could also help you out from a standpoint of referring you to my end buyers. So be clear on that. Be upfront.
Yeah, no, you should. And this is going to help them a couple ways. First, they're going to see like, oh, they're going to look at an opportunity like, oh, this person they're everywhere. They're going to be all over the city, because that is opportunity for them. Anybody that you sell a house to, anybody that's looking at this house that they've already had eyes on and they know what needs to be done, and you say, yeah, I'm going to flip it to this guy. I've got 2 or 3 people that buy most of my properties. when you flip it to that investor, you could recommend, hey, this is my GC. He's went and looked at it. He actually ran the numbers on it. Here's what he put together. And they have an in on who they could hire to get. I mean, a lot of investors, they might have a GC, but I talk to out-of-state people all the time that are looking for resources on the ground, especially now with everything that's changed and everything that's happened. They're looking for new resources, like dependable people. This gentleman that sent the 5 properties, I just told him, hey, you know what? We're not able to work on everything anyway. So, but we do, going on Palistries would be the most valuable. We try to be a solution for everybody. So, if you ever need boots on the ground, because he was out in California, if you ever need boots on the ground or recommendation on title companies or something, maybe you're looking for a ground crew on something, let us know. We're in the area. We know a lot of people, and he was over the moon for it. So he was like, yeah, next time I get something, I'll send it to you. Build that relationship with your GC. Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what. Any of my investors are looking for a GC, I'm happy to recommend you. You got a card or something you want me to hand out, or maybe you want me an email you want to tell them to connect you with, or just be like, hey, you know what? When it comes to our own flips, obviously we'd be looking at you. Maybe even partnering on deals. I mean, GCs, a lot of them, some of them look at their own investments. They do their own rental properties. In fact, the GC we was using when I was learning all this stuff, he was doing his own flips. And so he would ask us, he started asking us about what we were doing. And I didn't have to pay him to go look at properties. Him and I would go look. I would say, hey, Jay, I've got this property in such area. And, we're thinking about doing the flip. Or maybe just wholesaling. We're not really sure. So he'd come out there and look at it with me. Him and I would have a conversation. He'd ask questions about real estate investing. I'd ask questions about just GC stuff, just like, what about the house? We were in the basement. This house had this funky coal chute thing, and he had to explain it to me. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what you would do. So next time there's a coal chute, this is how much it's going to cost me. Great. Good to know.
No, that's awesome. And thanks, Mike, for the insight on that. Hey, if you guys want that checklist, it's a valuable checklist that we're going to give to you absolutely for free at no cost, because you are a subscriber of the channel. So this goal that we need to hit is 60 likes and 60 comments below, and we'll go ahead and give you access to that document that we only put in our training programs. And people pay a good amount for those valuable training programs that we have, but we're going to give you a piece of it. We're going to give you that document that you can start using for your business, because we want to see you get results. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give a big thumbs up. Make sure you become a subscriber. And as you can see here, Mike's got the notification bell. You got to hit the notification bell so that you can get reminders whenever we have brand new videos come out. Our schedule that we normally stick to is releasing videos on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that's when we love to share content with you, give you amazing information that you could take and put into your business. And if you would like to talk about your business, we'd love to chat with you. We've got 30 minutes set aside just for you. Head on over to myblueprintcall.com. As you can see, it's right here on the bottom. So myblueprintcall.com. That's all you need to do is type that into your browser and set up a time that works. And you'll either talk to myself or Mike or Jason Palliser. And we'd love to talk to you about your business, give you some nuggets that you could start putting into your business and start seeing some of the results that you desire. So other than that, thank you for joining us today. Mike, thanks for being on. And I will see you on the next video. Take care. Bye now.